Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey, Radio Bypass. Our guest today is surely someone that you know, a fearless voice from Watchtower, Dangerous Toys, and decades of uncompromising metal. If you know heavy music, you definitely know Jason McMaster. Now he's back with a brand new band called Night Terror, which is loud, aggressive, and built for right now. Welcome, Jason, to Radio Bypass. Glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ralph. I appreciate you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So you've got kind of a lot happening right here at the end of the year because you've got the Night Terror release and you've got a new Dangerous Toys release as well, all happening at this kind of at the same time. So busy little end of the year for you. But I thought we would start with the Night Terror project because I think that caught the attention of a lot of hard rock and heavy metal fans because of the lineup that's involved here, including yourself. So the Night Terror release, in case you guys have missed out on that, the first single was a song called Remedy is the Poison, which we played here on the show before. And then the EP is called Return of the Witches. And my understanding, Jason, and you can elaborate on this, is it was kind of the brainchild of Jack Frost, who plays guitar. But I thought maybe we could start with you telling us how did this band come together?
I've been acquainted with Jack Frost for quite some time. I would go see him when he played guitar in Savatage. I think the last time I saw him with Savatage would have been something like 15 years ago or more, maybe more. He came through Austin, Texas, and they were with Fate's Warning, and we chummed it up a little bit then, and then I just we both are on those Monsters of Rock cruises. We do festivals and things, and this for the most part would have been shows I've done over the past few years with Dangerous Toys where I'm running into Jack. And he's always the nicest guy in the room. He's always got a big smile on his face, and he's always a shredding guitar player, always performing,
right?
Top notch. And so I appreciate his contributions to the rock and metal community, and I'm a fan. So he also has this sort of footprint and legacy of releasing quite a few records. I want to say 3 or 4 with his personal project called Seven Witches. Now,
right.
He has had friends of mine write with him, collaborate with him, who would have been the singers on said records. One, James Rivera from Hellstar, he's an old friend of mine. Hellstar is from Houston, and I'm just right down the road in Austin. And Watchtower, we played shows all the time with Hellstar. So, I mean, I've known James since 1984 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in Seven Witches. And then the guy that, a fellow Jersey fella, a friend of Jack's, that was in a band called Hades. We used to write to each other. That is Alan Tecchio. Alan and I have known each other since about 1986. And Alan, when I jumped from Watchtower to Dangerous Toys, Alan was who I had replace me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Alan did a record or two with Jack and Seven Witches. So I've got all my buddies. I was like, hey, it's my turn. So Jack calls me a couple of years ago and he goes, so you ready to do this? He started sending me songs and we started our collaboration. I'm down here in Texas. He's in New Jersey. Carl, the drummer for this project, Night Terror, is in France. And Dennis, I don't even know where Dennis lives, but he might be in New Jersey as well. I don't know. But the point I'm making is this is very, very common. This record, Return of the Witches, was, made by sending files to one another. We were not in one room when we wrote it. I believe Jack put the compositions together with his guitar and a click track at his house in New Jersey and sent the songs out to those guys. They put bass and drums on them. They came back, they got a rough mix, and then they were sent to me to put vocals on. And that's pretty much how it's very common that records are made that way. I have made countless records that way. So I don't really know. It's safe to say I do not know Dennis and Carl, the rhythm section. We only know via email and talking about mixes or signing off on mixes or edits or whatever when we're putting these songs together, right? So
sure.
Once again, very common. So, Jack just kind of called me out one day and asked me if I'd be interested in making a Seven Witches album, to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
The first song on the record I wrote was Behind the Leaves. I believe the second one was Dying Days. I believe the third might have been Natural Destruction or Night Terrors. Terrors in the Night is what I like to call it. And I remember I was at least 3, maybe 4 songs in out of the 5, because one of them is the Lights Out, the cover of UFO song Lights Out.
Right.
So the 5 original compositions, I think I was 3, maybe 4 songs in. I had already turned in Lights Out. Jack calls me and he goes, I'm changing the name of the project. And I'm like, hey, it's your baby. Sure, whatever you want. He goes, I'm going to change it from Seven Witches to Night Terror. And I'm like, oh. And in the back of my head, I'm going, I just turned in this song called Terrors in the Night or Night Terrors. I don't have to ask him where he came up with this band name. He's going to just take the song that we wrote together and start this new chapter. And I'm like, yeah, whatever you want. That's cool. I like it. It's fine. I mean, why wouldn't I like it? I came up with it.
Right.
And so that's fine, right? Yeah, I'm having fun with him. And he's obviously enjoying what I'm turning in. And I said, you're going to lose momentum on this footprint and legacy you have with Seven Witches. I mean, that goes back years now.
Right.
And you've got to tie all this in somehow. And he's like, oh yeah, the title of the record, I'll tie it into Seven Witches somehow. And I'm like, well, what do you got? And he goes, I don't know. And I go, well, make sure that you put the word witches in there at least.
Right.
And he's like, oh yeah. And I go,
continuity.
yeah. And I said, well, it's got to be, let's keep talking about this right now. I mean, I want you to make sure that there shall be no shooting oneself in the foot here and, shedding any skin that you've built up to, build this monster. And I said, make sure you call it something like, oh, I don't know. And I'm just spitballing. And I say, Return of the Witches, i.e. Seven Witches, because it's Seven Witches. And you're not calling it Seven Witches, and that's fine. And he goes, Return of the Witches, I love it. See you later. Bye. Click. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Great meeting. Let's moving on. That was quick. Let's go. Gather no moss. And he's great to work with and very accommodating to my ideas and super happy and likes to make a good decision that brings everyone else along. Mm-hmm. Very easy to work with. And I try to be the same as well. And sometimes in collaborations, and when it's not a band down in the basement or in the garage, putting material together, hey, what riffs you got? Ooh, that's cool. And the drummer's going and they're putting the riff together and they're making the movement, the changes and the turns, and they're feeling it all out. And usually if the singer is even there, they're at least singing some dummy words and coming up with some melodies or digging through scrapbooks or whatever of lyric ideas that, a real collaboration.
Right.
So in this day and age, it's common for, I got a riff and I'm going to throw these parts together and just send them to the rhythm section and see, let them have at it. And, in most cases, with someone like Jack in this instance, he's been doing this for years. He knows how to write a full composition. It's got an intro. It's got it's got a build up. It's got a verse and a pre-chorus and a chorus and a bridge and a solo and a breakdown and an outro, etc., whatever.
Right.
A real song map, The only song that needed some edits because I felt the flow was not happening, I'd get to somewhere and they'd go left and I'm like, I want to go straight some more,
Right.
Was the song Dying Days. And
which I have to mention that on my notes that I made for myself, that so far is my current favorite track of the EP.
Wow. Well, then, in your opinion, my suggestions really worked out.
Yes, I love that song. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, that was a chop it up and move a couple of things around because, I want this, what planet I'm traveling into, I want it to, I like the colors of this planet. And you're wanting to lift off, and I'm not ready to lift off yet. So,
right,
I did a couple of edits and got my vocals to fit the way I saw correct, and everything was fine. And the director, the engineer producer for this record, Jeff, I'm going to say his last name wrong, so I'm going to keep it out. Jeff,
I have that on my notes here, anyways. But
Jeff was super easy to work with as well, and any suggestions I had in edits or even tones, not even my instrument. You're the singer, man. Just mess with your singing, the vocal stuff. Don't talk about my guitar tones. That's usually how that shit goes, right? Well,
right.
I was even like, hey, can you pull down these frequencies here and there on that guitar, because man, it's really kind of crushing the vibe here, and I don't even need to go into where it is because he just kind of evened everything out for me, where I felt like it needed it. And the record couldn't have been easier to make. The lyrics were flowing. Everyone was open to any suggestions I had or Jeff had or that Jack had, and I don't think I heard much from Carl or Dennis other than maybe just the color of the logo.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just like minimal things,
Right.
So super easy to make a record, and yeah, I'm super happy with it. Remedy is in the Poison, I think, was one that I wrote kind of in the middle of it all. And we were making a video for that with someone from the label, or that had been commissioned from the label, or I think it was someone, friend of the label, was doing like an animated character video of Remedy is in the Poison. And long story short, with my not disdain but unhappiness with how that was starting to pan out, and the answer to my questions was, if we do that, it's going to cost a lot of money to get the right software to make it look the way you're suggesting. And I'm like, I called Jack and I was real uncomfortable. I mean, I could just omit this part, but it makes for a good story.
I like good stories.
Because I don't mean to sound like a little complainer, right?
No,
but it wasn't
disease.
It wasn't. No, because good thing I'm a bass player that just I must be a terrible one because they just want me to sing. Anyway, okay singers are not really singers. They're usually a drummer or a bass player. Look it up. So anyway, long story short, I said, well, you guys just throw up a camera and film yourself playing the song and send it to me and let me have my way with it, and I'll throw something together and make a little punk rock video, And I did, and that's the video for the single that's out. It's something that I just concocted after I was unhappy with the animated video, which it didn't even look like we were playing. It was real stop-start kind of, it was a little South Park maybe, and I was like, can't let that go. So
Yeah.
the artistic freedom was completely wide open for anyone to have a say in this. And that's really where it should start. I mean, some people don't even get that far. Decisions are being made for the band that comes out and their name's missing or some shit. It's crazy.
Right. Well, yeah, and it's kind of nice to hear that, being as Jack's, initial baby, that he was open to your input, and it became a true, you weren't just a hired singer, to sing on some tracks. You got to actually be part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, I felt there was a red carpet,
Yeah, it sounds that way. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, since you touched on my favorite song, Dying Days, because I put that for myself, I wanted to make sure we talked about that song. So what inspired that song? Tell us a little bit about the writing of that tune.
Well, sometimes my process changes, but it's not so drastic from like 2 or 3 ideas. I confess I watch a lot of TV and movies. I'm not the avid reader that some have accused me of. I have an onslaught of a heavy metal documentary biography type of library I've not read. I get them for gifts. I re-gift them sometimes because people will send me multiple copies of the same book. And it's great. And sometimes I'll crack them and read them, and I did not know that about my favorite band or whatever, right? So,
right.
I do what, a lot of news or movies, or usually it's TV. I'm sadly addicted to television and movies.
I'm with you. I'm the same.
Yeah, and it's the idiot box. It's a real drug, Yeah. And if somebody says, or something happens, or there is a quote or a phrase, or someone says something that just hits me a certain way, I'll grab a notebook or something and I'll write it down, even if it's just 3 words or a whole sentence, or rewind it and what's that whole paragraph, and I'll do research on that. And I think that's how I came up with Behind the Leaves, and that is about the life of a samurai, and Behind the Leaves is like their rule book.
Mm-hmm.
Die for the master at all cost. And that is enough, so metal. You know what I mean? That is right. So metal to just like, nope, I'm going to sit here and it's raining fire, and I'm just going to sit here and cover up my master and his family with my own body so they don't die. You know, it's real. Little thing, I mean, I was, paraphrasing there, but yeah. So Dying Days kind of was one that I don't recall having any notes, I'll just call them notes, for at all. I don't remember having any slip of paper or even a half a sheet or...
Right, nothing from the archives of lyric books or anything.
Nothing on a bar napkin, nothing,
right.
Not any sliver of help, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the title and the phrase "Dying Days" just came from kind of getting in the groove and maybe singing some dummy words.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes
I'll just scat some kind of melody over what feels like a verse or a chorus or a bridge, and I'll build. And sometimes, I swear, I won't even get out of this chair until I have at least the melody and the hook with some type of title or idea of where this is going to go, at least 50%, but if not the whole thing. And I believe that's how Dying Days came to me. And it's very, in some ways, a lot of the lyrics and the vibe of this record connect. And I find myself sometimes, and this may or may not be good for me to mention here if I have many followers, that some people might accuse me of writing about the same things a lot. And I feel like that's okay for a lyricist to kind of harp on the same vibe, a lot, as long as they're clever about it. I mean, how many times did Steven Tyler write about his dick?
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Or sexual innuendo, or
Sure.
same with AC/DC. Pick Brian or Bon. You know, what are the innuendos really talking about?
Sure.
So mortality is a big one with me. I mean, I write yacht rock that probably has to do with mortality. So anyway, Dying Days kind of comes from that. And I talk somewhere, to keep the white dove, you got to clip the wings, you know what I mean? And that's a little unfair to the dove because, they say if you hover, if you hold, if you put it in shackles, it's not going to be happy, so you need to like let go. And that's kind of, my dying days. Sometimes, we forget that, we covet things, and you have to remind yourself, man, I got to let that go. Just like when it's your time, you have to let go. If there's something that's keeping you here, that's unfair to yourself as much as it might. I'm holding on for something else. Those are those ties and binds and shackles and things that should not exist. You got to stay grounded, but that doesn't mean leash, right?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah. So I write a lot about that kind of thing, and I write a lot of things that might deal with about things that have to do with memories, because I think that's important. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's things that we can all relate to as well,
Yeah, 100%.
And that's, and I like when people write songs like that, with that kind of thought, not just trying to make up a story out of nowhere, but like, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And putting that into song. I think that's the right way. That's what makes it feel good and resonate with you when a song.
And I think that it can be arguable because everybody has a different favorite song of yours and mine, and this guy and that girl, and whoever the creator of the lyric is. Everybody has a different favorite. So, wow, that's a song that's about this, and I got it from this line from this movie. Wow, that's crazy that's an interesting that you like that one the most, as to where this other one came out of my butt. I was just kind of singing Yabba Dabba Doo and Scooby Dooby Doo, and all of a sudden, I'm singing about my last days here on the planet and mortality and how you gotta be free and la la la, So it's a different, the difference between Remedy is in the Poison and Dying Days would probably be that. And those lyrics you could probably connect those, at least a few lines here and there in the hook,
Gotcha. And then another question I wanted to ask is, the overall sound of the record, makes me feel, old school metal, Saxon, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, stuff like that. And then when I realized, when I got through listening to the whole EP and found Lights Out as a cover, not that we don't all love UFO, and obviously they're fabulous, but since you guys chose a cover and the way the overall sound of the band is to my ears, I'm surprised that maybe you didn't reach out and cover a Priest song or a Saxon song or something. So I was wondering what made you guys choose Lights Out as a cover.
Yeah, I had no choice in that. It just showed up.
Gotcha. Okay, then.
and we're doing a cover of Lights Out. Good go to work. And I mean, that was fine. I mean, surely Jack was like, well, I hear Jason talk about UFO. 100%, he's gonna love UFO. I mean, like you said, of course, everyone likes UFO, and if you don't, you need to take a Tylenol.
That's right.
Something's wrong.
That's right. No,
so, you're not wrong that a lot of the things that Jack knows I'm a Sabotage fan, so he knows that anything that he's going to write that's metal is going to have that vibe to it.
Right.
An Iron Maiden, a Priest, in an old school vibe, and that's where the metal vibes are coming from. I believe they're starting with Jack, and obviously he's got some old school guys that he's known for years and years, who are coming from the same planets, and so that was a no-brainer that the record was going to sound like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I love. I mean, the whole thing just sounds great. And knowing that you guys all recorded it separately like you did, whoever pulled it all together and did the final production work on it, I mean, it sounds so good. The sound quality is really good, which I don't always get sometimes on modern releases that I receive. It's like, this could have been a little bit better, But this sounds really, really good. So everybody did a great job that was involved with it.
Well, thank you, and I'm sure everybody would everyone involved in the making of it would appreciate hearing that. So I appreciate that. I think that I can say, and this might sound funny or strange, but it was fairly easy to make the record. Mm-hmm. There was no deadline. I was not rushed. Even though Jack was like, I was turning songs in earlier than Jack was expecting, because I'm involved in a lot of things all the time. I've got 5 things running at, there's a stack of songs here I got to go right to next, I'll take a break from this and go get some of that, and
right.
And because when I'm flowing, when I'm juicy, I'll just, like I said, I won't stop until I'm kind of done with it. I'll be in here for hours. Mm-hmm. It'll be like I might stop to let the dog out. Right. I might I got to drink some water because I'm dying. Or
sure.
But I will lose sleep and won't skip meals to finish a thing if I'm totally have the armor on.
Sure.
So the record was easy to make. There was no pressure. Jack was, write about whatever you want. It was complete trust, and
that's awesome.
Yeah. So we were concerned. I would be concerned more about performances, and the way tones and the way things were recorded. And the material was trust. That I was completely once I heard the tracks, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally get where this is gonna go. This is right up my alley as far as lyrical content and style of vocal. It's like I've done this style of vocal with other projects before, which I relate to. Like, I ain't no Ronnie James Dio. I am not even a tenor. I call myself a fake tenor. I am not even a tenor. And I have this like third sort of Mickey Mouse voice that I do okay with, that turns into something that would sound like maybe Dio, and mix it with some King Diamond and some Rob Halford and, some Paul Di'Anno. And, I don't do a very good Bruce Dickinson, but those styles of those metal singers are like my favorite thing ever.
Right.
And so the songs kind of call for that vibe of a melodic, bluesy, rough and tumble singer voice,
Right.
And that's what I tried to deliver as best as I can. And that sort of taking from those tones and my ability to use those tones as best as I can, I've used those exact same tools, I'll call them, with other projects. So whether Jack had heard that and said, "Oh, I hear what he's doing, and that's going to work for Seven Witches, ultimately Night Terror." So,
right.
Whether that happened or not, I think it was just trust all the way around. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, now that this thing's recorded and out, I know that with the way things are today, with there's not really like a band anymore, right? It's a lot of people collaborating with a lot of people. The way things are today, for the most part, I assume this is not going to take on a live element where you guys would be going out as a band.
We are very spread out, as I was saying earlier. So yeah, and we only have. I mean, we would have to. I heard Jack say in an interview the other day, it's like, if we were to play live at anywhere in any capacity at all, we would have to rehearse, and he didn't seem to think that would be a big deal. Logistically, we would have. I mean, Carl's in France. I'll just stop there. What are we going to do? And but to talk about a set list, well, the record's not even a half hour long.
Right.
We would, after the Lights Out cover, we would have to do other covers, and what that would be other Seven Witches songs that I was not involved with, maybe Sabotage songs that Jack was involved with that I was not involved. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, no, I do.
It would be kind of a give and take of other projects, and I don't know if it would be like, Carl was in a version of Diamond Head. I don't know if we would do a Diamond Head song. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, well, that's why I bring it up. I would assume that wouldn't happen, but what I guess where I was going with that is, we know that probably wouldn't be in the mix, but being that this is an EP, for me, it's kind of like, okay, let's sample this. Let's put a few songs out, see what the reaction is. I'm believing the reaction is going to be very strong to this release because it's really, really good. Would there be a possibility of more music coming from this configuration of people?
I love the question, because in the in the original state of me and Jack's conversation about being involved, I thought it was going to be a Seven Witches record and a full record, 10 or 12 tunes.
Right.
So in the middle of it all, I'm going, all right, I'm almost done with these, 5, 6 being the cover. Where's the rest of the songs? What do you got? Come on. He's like, oh, no, that's it. You have it all. And I'm like, wait, this is pretty short. He goes, yeah, it's an EP. So I went in full on prepared to make a full length. And I feel like there's good and bad with that. I'm super old school. I like it to be a photo album of time.
Mm-hmm. Time capsule, yeah.
Yeah, where I feel like those 5 original songs and a decent cover song, that's cool, but that's a half-Z. The temperature of the water is really good right now, and we're not swimming.
Right.
We finally got the weather we like, but we're not full on in the pool,
Right.
And whether that's a good or bad analogy, I don't know. But
I get where you're going, yeah.
Yeah, so the point is, I was ready to make a full record. So I think the plan is, with the lineup, to make more music. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I hope so, because I just feel this release is really solid. I mean, you listening to it, Dying Day starts it out and Lights Out ends it, but everything in between too, it's all just very solid. Everything's rock solid. There's no, the old phrase that probably gets overused, all killer, no filler, that's what this is.
Well, that's a really good review of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're not messing around if you say all killer, no filler. As soon as you say that, someone's like, if you trust that, phrase as a record review, sold.
Right.
I'm buying it.
Right.
I'm going to get it. It's interesting that, I have the songs, in my Dropbox. I could hear them whenever I want. The ritual of dropping the needle on a record, I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
So I want to, after all these interviews I've done, and I think this might be my final interview because of the time given when you work with a publicist, and
Right.
I don't really know. I would do 100 more interviews if there were 100 more people that wanted to talk about Night Terror. But the point is,
You hear that, Jen? No, just kidding. Go ahead.
I want the record. I want the vinyl so I can listen to it on vinyl,
Yeah,
and I haven't yet. So
but
I don't have any.
You have the record though.
I don't have any product at all.
Oh,
I have the original mastered files. I even have the demos. I have the original rough mixes of just their rough mix with my vocal just flowing over the top of it. I have that too.
Right.
But the point is, I want the label to, my address is, my name is, you can send me the copy of the record, please. I want to drop the needle myself.
I'll help push that along for you too.
Okay, sweet. Can you put in a good word? Say, hey, man, I know this guy Jason. I think he's in the band. I think he wrote the words. He wants to hear how the record sounds on his stereo. Can you hook a brother up with some vinyl?
I'm going to work on that, Jason.
Awesome.
I'm going to work on that.
Awesome. It's common for artists to go buy their own records. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah.
No, I believe that. I get obviously everything sent to me digitally, but I still like to support the artists, and I still go buy. Even sometimes my wife is like, "Why are you doing this? You already have all this." I said, "Well, yes, I have it all, but in a different form. So I want it this way, including, like you said, the vinyl. I had invested in a super expensive turntable when I thought turntables would never be made again, and knock wood, 40 years later or whatever it is now, thing still works like a charm.
Of course it does.
I've never gotten rid of my vinyl, as so many did. I have all my records, except I did lose some in a flood 25 years ago, which kills me because I had a couple of really rare records. But anyway, but I love that, and you're absolutely right. Each way that you listen to music, from an MP3 to a much fuller file as far as the digital end, to a CD, to a piece of vinyl, they all have little nuances, don't they? And they're all just a little bit of a different experience. And
a remaster or even a remix can make something feel completely different, which is a lot of reasons why a lot of what I call purists do not like remasters or remixes.
Right.
So they have multiple copies of the same record. Well, this is a remix, and this is a remix and a remaster, and this one has uncovered bonus tracks that were on the master reels that didn't make the record in the first place. So there's all these reasons to have these variants.
Sure.
People, real music fans, they don't understand this language.
That's true. But all that's kind of a good segue to talk a little bit about your other band, and the band that I first knew you from, Dangerous Toys. You just released a new thing called Demolition, and I'm assuming that means it's some old demos from the past. But I don't know a lot about it because I really haven't had a chance to research that. So I was wondering if you could touch a little bit on that release from Dangerous Toys.
Of course. It's out on Cleopatra Records, and I'll just move all over the place. At some point they said, "What do you guys have laying around as far as unreleased material?" And me and Scott, the guitarist, were like, "Well, during COVID I digitized all those crappy demo cassettes that we recorded on Fostex and Tascam little 4-track
I remember
recorders in
those.
the jam room, and we could do Demolition 2, Demolition 3, Demolition 4. Whether the songs are any fucking good, I don't know. So to put a timestamp on the whole thing, we got off the road in 91, and I think in Chicago we played the World Theater.
Oh, sure, Tinley Park.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, with Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, Motorhead, and Metal Church, and that was summer '91. So we got home from all that, and by the end of the year, we had started writing and had set up a shop, a little rehearsal studio thing, and because we knew we had a record to make. So it's safe to say between 92 and the end of 93, those 2 years proper, we wrote a lot of fucking songs, man.
Did you?
And yeah, good, bad, terrible, some that never made it to the 4-track, it's just tons of stuff. Every day, what do you got? What do you got? What do you got? Oh, I got these. And, everyone's, you're a band, you're a working band, and you owe the world a record, or you feel like you do,
Right.
And we were excited, and we were writing and writing and writing, and something that's important, our third record, which was Pissed, it was called Pissed, and it came out in 94. Whatever it is, 10 or 12
Was that on
songs.
the same label that the first two came out on?
No,
I didn't think so. Okay.
Nope, and I'll get to that. But our third record was made up of 10 or 12 songs that had been culled from those 2 years of writing.
Mm-hmm.
So this new thing that came out this month is from sessions that go back that far, that predate the release of the Pissed album, the third record.
Got it. Okay.
So, when putting Demolition together, we had to omit those songs because, we have demo versions of those songs, but that's not what this is. This is unreleased, never before heard of. I call them rejects because they were rejected. They were rejected by Sony Columbia, right? They were rejected. And the story was during that interim was we would write 3, 4, 5 songs and record them. And this would be a process of a week or two, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. And we demo them and record them and polish the turd as best we could on a little 4-track, and rip them, burn them, and send them to management, and management would send them to the label. We'd get the same response every time. What'd they think? Nope, keep writing. Nope, keep writing. Nope, keep writing. Well, after 2 years, pretty much all of 1992, maybe early 93, we decided that we called management and we said, hey, can you call the label and say, obviously we're writing the best thing that a band called Dangerous Toys from Texas could sound like.
Right.
This is who we are, and these are some of the best tunes that we can write, if not the best. I mean, arguable, sure, in a fair war. Can you just let us fuck off? Please drop us so we can go make a record.
Right.
We want to go make a record.
What do you think their opposition was? Were they looking for Sporting a Woody Part 2 or something? I mean, why do you think they kept saying keep writing?
No, this was a time when they were pulling down their Warrant posters and putting up their Alice in Chains posters.
Gotcha. Enough
So
said there.
it didn't have anything to do with. I mean, they weren't asking us to be something that we were not. They were not. We were already different enough because of trends and what was on the radio and what we liked, and we weren't as far as the first album goes. I mean, this is 3 years later.
Right.
We were not necessarily exactly in the same skins that we were when we were in our early 20s. This was, 25. This is a little bit of a different. We had learned a lot being on the road, having to finally get a bank account, not living hand to mouth like a homeless person, sofa surfing,
Right.
Because there was a little bit of that going on in our lives.
Sure.
Because we were just musicians, we were doing the best we could with using our resources.
Right.
And you learn how to live that way. And I'm not, a lot of bands will tell you the same story.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, there was that. And then you had us calling a major label that we were so happy to be working with and going, "Hey, can you fire us?"
Yeah,
it
does seem odd, doesn't it?
Can you throw us over the cliff so we can, because we're ready to land on our feet.
Right.
You don't think we are, but we are confident and think that we are.
Right.
So when they did, we culled the songs and made the Pissed out. The songs on Pissed we pulled from the same batch. So, not very long ago, conversation that my guitar player Scott Dalhoover was having with Cleopatra, "Hey, what do you got laying around?" And Scott calls me and I go, "I got all these really shitty sounding demos where the tape is rotting and it's all warbled and hiss, and let's break out the turd polisher and go through all of these songs and try to make them sound okay." Right. And take their money. So we did. So we motherfucking did.
Now that's pretty honest.
But it's even though it's not a quick money grab, it's there is future potential or potential future of us to put out a new record with them. Now that we're kind of in bed with them, giving them first shot on a brand new Dangerous Toys record where it's, again, unreleased material, but it's new. At least the bulk of it by the time it would come out would be like, songs that were written in this century, or whatever.
Right.
To put it lightly. So we started going through. I sent everything I had digitized during COVID, because I had it on file, but it was continuous, Ralph. It was like, I opened up a window on my computer and it was reading the audio, and I hit play and went to lunch.
Yeah. When I first started digitizing some of my old band demos and stuff from bands that I worked with, I did the same thing, and then I was not happy with what I did because it was one big file, like you said.
Well, and you have to, you open it up and you have to file, you have to snip and tuck and file everything, and then by the end of it, we had to, like, basically, I use the term loosely, master those. That's what I call the turd polisher.
Right.
Because it was literally off of old, dusty cassette tapes that were in a box in the corner.
Yeah.
And
you do a little speed correction and things like that, though, like if there was some of that warble. I mean, there are ways to kind of, rebuild it from what it was.
Yeah, I don't even think we went that far with it. I mean, I can listen to the final product. I mean, it's too late now. It's all out there now, We wanted it, we originally wanted to call the record Warts and All. And just have the clown with, just warts and, a beard and, like he hit Rumpelstiltskin, or like he was sleeping in a tree trunk, and finally he's out and he looks like hell, something like that. But we went with Demolition because it was just a snappier title and was forthcoming in the same ways.
Well, I'm excited that you're even considering new music in the 2020s or whatever.
Sure.
Because a lot of folks just aren't doing it anymore. They're just doing a single and then maybe a year later a single. So if you guys are even thinking about maybe doing a full release, that would be great because, yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a full batch of music from you.
Well, it's interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but listen,
fine.
it's been interesting, this Demolition, and I don't know if you just, I won't say stumble over, they come into my feed, obviously, because I'm not a content creator. I'm forced to be one,
Right.
as we all are if we're in this business, right? So
Yes.
I hate that. But anyway, that's okay. Wambulance here about being popular, right? The point is that fans are freaking out. They love it. And everybody has a different favorite song, which we touched on Night Terror as well.
Right.
Everyone has a different vibe and a different favorite, and it's been really awesome to kind of hear people go, "Oh my God, I'm blown away! This could have been on your first record. This song could have been on the Pissed record. Oh wow, I see you guys growing into where you were on Pissed, and even Artist Formerly Known As record, which came out in '95." And they're not wrong.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to get a chance to dig into it. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to listen to the record yet. So, but I knew we were going to be chatting today, so I'm like, I still want to talk about it anyway, even though I haven't had a chance to hear it yet. So
Sure.
I can't tell you what my favorite is yet, but I will.
Right, of course.
That's
Well,
awesome.
I'm in a lot of different projects. I've got a new thing called Hot Shot. We're trying to get a record ready for next year. And it's basically the leftovers from a band that you might remember called Dirty Looks.
Oh, sure, of
And
course.
I fronted Dirty Looks 2.0 with the original drummer, bass player, and guitar player, who's Paul Lydell, who's in Dangerous Toys now.
Oh my gosh! And he's also got a great record that's fairly new too. The Scream Therapy, Paul Lydell's Scream Therapy. I love that album.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes, Paul is prolific and busy and a great writer and a great musician and a great friend.
Mm-hmm.
But the Dirty Looks, and I'll just call it 2.0 because sadly Henrik Ostergaard passed away quite some time ago. And those guys wanted to do a reunion, and we ended up recording one of the reunion shows that we actually did, and that's available out there. It's called Dirty Looks Cool from the Speedway, and 17 songs, all your Dirty Looks favorites. And so the nucleus of that started writing songs that were in the vein of Dirty Looks, but obviously it has me singing. And call them new collaborations. It's kind of it's not really a departure from the sound of Dirty Looks because it's got Jack on bass and Paul on guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a Toys fan, I have a band called Broken Teeth that's been around for 20 years plus with like 9 records out that is sort of in that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
That me and Paul actually started Broken Teeth way back in 1999.
Wow.
It's a thing, that kind of like bluesy, nasty, it's bluesy AC/DC that sounds like it just wants to grow up and be Judas Priest or Motorhead or something.
Gotcha.
And it's still dancey and fun and nasty and loud, and which is just missing in the climate these days. I feel like if you're a Dirty Looks fan, you'll like Hot Shot.
Okay.
That's all I really am trying to say. There's 2 singles out now, a song called Catwalk and a song called Digging for Diamonds.
Under the Hot Shot name?
Hot Shot with umlauts, my friend.
All right. I gotta
That's
write
how
that
you will
down
know
right
you
now
are.
so I don't forget to check that out.
Put the umlauts because there's too many damn bands using the term Hot Shot.
All right, I'm drawing my version of an umlaut because I'm not a good artist. But
Yeah, perfect. Okay, it's just 2 dots, buddy. Just find that O and shot and put So hot the shot, and the shot has the O with the umlauts over. Makes it kind of sound like we're trying to say hot shit.
there you go. Oh, that's awesome. Well, you know what? You had mentioned, I'm glad we're talking about this because you had mentioned that you got always a bunch of things going on. So, so Hot Shot's going on, Dirty Looks, kind of, maybe.
Well, it's Hot Shot.
Yeah, or Hot Shot, okay.
Yeah, it's Hot Shot.
And then Broken Teeth is an ongoing venture, too?
Yeah, we have enough songs to make a new record, but we're a little selfish and we want to write like 5 more. So we have we can call the best of the best. And brokenteeth.com, people can check that out. Like I said, it's been around for a long time. We used to tour, actually, but it just got expensive, and we make more money as a band staying home. It's the weirdest thing ever.
It is so
great.
It is so weird, and I still can't wrap my head around like all these bands you're naming right now. That's where we're at today. That
I'm not even
many multiple projects.
I'm not even halfway done, but I'll spare you.
Are you doing, let's see, you got some things for TV, some movie soundtracks, some video games, right? You probably got all those different fire irons in the fire.
Well, I'm writing songs that fit all of those mediums, but, because I have Christmas music. If you just Google my name, it's on all the platforms.
Appropriate as we're about to head into Christmas.
Yeah, I have 2 Christmas songs out. I've been writing this stuff that I'll just call it yacht rock because it's kind of easy listening. It's very melancholy, and I take from like 70s stuff, and that would be Elton John, Billy Joel, with a little bit of Queen and ELO, and maybe even Hall & Oates, kind of sad cowboy kind of stuff. And I even write country songs too. None of that's out yet.
Gotcha.
But my Christmas music is out, so you'll hear my voice in a different tone other than the screaming demon that everyone knows me for.
And is that under your name?
Yes.
The Christmas songs? Okay. I want to look for those. Yeah, it's fascinating to me, those of us that have been around a while, to see how things have evolved. And an interesting thing about you that I had heard back, I don't even remember when, long time ago, that I always wondered if this is correct. Were you being considered or asked to be the lead singer for Pantera at one point in time?
Yeah, to be fully correct, this probably was in around 86, maybe early 87, but I know I have that time frame almost spot on. Mr. Abbott, Daryl and Vinny's father, called me on the phone and said, hey, those are my boys, and I'm kind of managing them. And I'm like, I know who you are. He was already kind of legend in Texas, and Pantera was already known. And I was in a band called Watchtower, which is this progressive, before you could put the words math and metal together, we were math metal. We were this technical thrash band, this like progressive thrash metal band, which is not, now it's commonplace for you to talk about extreme metal and have it be completely, math rock and math metal. And there's so many different genres of what I'm kind of talking about. But anyway, right. Watchtower is arguably the first, the pioneer of that genre. But I digress. The point is I was in this really weird metal band, and that's how those guys knew me, and I knew them to be this kind of glam rock. Their early Pantera record, they didn't have Philip. They had Terry Glaze, and they were a little bit more, I don't know,
Bon Jovi-ish in the
Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, sure, and that's fine. And they were kicking ass. They were kicking ass. They were a touring. They would, run around Texas and roll up through Oklahoma, go all the way to Nashville and play their way all the way back. And they were killing it. And they were young. And everyone, I don't have to say, they had Daryl.
Right.
It was just.
Exactly.
But, Vinny and Rex are these bad motherfuckers too. So they're, as a band, unstoppable, no matter what. All my friends, we knew who they were, of course. So Mr. Abbott calls me, and I respectfully decline because I'm about to have to replace a guitar player in Watchtower, which was no easy feat because of the style of music it is. It's like you can't just call up, hey, Joe, across the street, I'm play a guitar. Oh, I got 5 strings. It's very, you have to have third eye wide open and be into Mahavishnu Orchestra and Rush in a blender on Crush.
Right.
To understand what it is. And anyway, I explained that to him and he was fine. 2 weeks later, Vinny calls me to basically say, are you sure that you don't? And this was an invitation to only audition.
Were they kind of the biggest band in your area at that point in time?
I didn't know them to be as far as what you would call biggest band.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had footprint and they had buzz. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, years later, I was blessed enough to get into a little conversation about what we're talking about with Daryl. And I'm like, why me? You know what I mean? Because obviously it's funny because they got Philip and ended up being this giant monster that defies genre of, they were thrash. They were, you know, they were the heaviest thing. For a minute, they were the heaviest thing on the radio. You know,
No
they
doubt,
were crushing this complete, they were thrash and they were power metal and they were doom and they were just, oh my God, the riffs and just Philip's voice, and they were this conglomerate of everything. They were monstrous, and they were obviously breaking down walls, kicking ass and taking names with Philip. They did that. Whatever decisions they made right ones.
Right.
So
right.
That's why I can't tell you enough. Obviously, I was not the right guy, and I knew it prophetically somehow. And I said, I can't, you know, I want to, and here's the thing too, Ralph, is, you know, I got asked to audition for Skid Row 2, and it was verbatim the same storyline. Snake calls me one day, he calls me 2 weeks later. Are you sure? Same answer I had. It's like, here's my real answer. When I'm leaving Watchtower and I'm joining Dangerous Toys, there's something that a lot of people don't realize. It was really hard to make that decision to leave something I was in almost a decade and then go with these guys I knew for 6 months and go make a brand new record in less than a year. I'm in arenas and on MTV, not in that order.
Right.
But what's missing in this conversation is, and this sounds selfish, maybe not, but this was something that I had stuck to my shoe, I'll just call it, because it wasn't something that I wore like a badge.
Mm-hmm.
I had a chance to sing my songs, because in Watchtower, they wrote the lyrics. I wrote the melodies. They may have had compositions that told me where they expected me to sing and what would resemble a verse and a chorus and a bridge, etc. But that's my voice and it's my melodies, and that's the way the song goes, and I had a lot to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't write the lyrics, so that part was missing in my skill set, and I needed to sharpen that knife, and this was a chance for me to do it. So by the time, you know, the Skid Row, offered to audition to be 100,000% clear, you know, obviously they're doing the right thing too, and I have mad respect for them as well and their decisions that they've made too. And it's probably tough in the shoes that they are wearing right now. They stuck to their guns. They are, you know, it must be hard to have a different singer every few years.
I'm sure it is, yeah.
Yeah, but they're still a badass band, and they're obviously unstoppable, and respect to that. But the point, I had a chance to be a songwriter. So when I'm saying this to these guys, I'm still working on this right here, and I don't need to tell you that in so many words. And so that kind of would give you a little bit of introspect, if that's even a word.
It is.
Into where I am. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so, you know, now that I have my own songs to sing, I feel a lot better. Maybe even about being a replacement singer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I have pretty much been a replacement singer since I got it all figured out.
Yeah,
So
yeah, makes sense.
when you think about it, I am, I'm never the first singer. I'm starting a brand new project. I can count those projects on one hand.
Right,
I mean, even in Night Terror, I'm a replacement singer technically.
right.
Yeah, because
Since it was the position you thought to be Seven Witches.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. No, that all
So
makes sense.
yeah, so there is kind of how the story went and how the story goes.
Now, Dangerous Toys, since you came out of the gate so hot in '89, you mentioned about MTV and all that stuff. Would the you of then envisioned that you'd ever be doing music the way you're doing it now? All these different places that you're lending your voice, so to speak? Or did you think, wow, this band is really taken off and we're going to be Dangerous Toys forever? Yeah, did you foresee any twists and turns like
That is a great
really happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's important to know that it's how commonplace it is now for someone to be in all these different projects and to be a band-aid. The plane leaves at 6 a.m. I can do it. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll learn the songs on the plane.
Right.
That has happened to me a few times. I covered for John Bush and Armored Saint. I covered for Accept in an overnight situation where I'm using a teleprompter and just learning the songs on the fucking plane.
And how you get that in your head and get the vibe, it's like that just sounds so hard. But anyway, carry on.
It's not some. If you let that get in your head, you're gonna fail.
Right.
You just put it on and do the best you can, smile a lot, and have fun with the fans, and hope they don't throw something at you because you're the Band-Aid, right? But the crew gets to work. No one goes home. The band still gets paid. That promoters are happy. They didn't have to refund anybody. La 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 la.
Right.
So it's a good thing, and it's sure it's up for argument about how you really feel, but that would be literally, so tell us how you really feel. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, fuck this guy and fuck that guy. It's not the real band. I want my money back. Legit, that's fine. That happened. I could probably count it on one hand. It's commonplace to be in a bunch of different projects because of the digital age. But when you think about, being in just two bands, I'll speak from my own experience. When I was in Watchtower, I started moonlighting with what ended up becoming Dangerous Toys within just a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And for a few months, maybe 5 months, 4 months, I was in both bands. I was gigging with Watchtower. We were putting together some new songs. And Dangerous Toys was brand new and started playing gigs, and it was two totally different ends of the spectrum. Still loud and crazy, but two totally different pairs of pants, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so why couldn't I just had done both? And ended up being brought up that is a conflict of interest by means of, well, if Watchtower is going to sign a deal and go make a record, well, around the same time, so is Dangerous Toys, and that was about to explode.
Mm-hmm.
Both bands were about to have to be busy doing something, and I feel like Dangerous Toys camp, the people that were investing in Dangerous Toys immediate could see that the potential of this happening with Watchtower, which would cause rift and cause right. And so they were the ones that sort of brought it up to say, sorry, but we want you to sign this piece of paper that cuts you off from being involved in, you're gonna have to leave Watchtower.
We want 100% commitment. Yeah.
Professionally. And I had never even seen anything like this. I mean, signing a contract was, wow, this is a trip. I'm a punk ass kid from Texas with no money. I ain't even seen the mountains.
Right.
So, I learned a lot overnight about that kind of a thing, and I officially had to leave Watchtower on paper. And there was money exchanged and everything because, when you have bills, when there's a bill to pay, like Watchtower's, debut record came out in 85, we still owed the studio some money, and some of that ticket was mine, so the first check that was written with the toys, there was a few grand cut off of that was exchanged hands to pay my bills, to cut me off and not have this lingering. So it was a professional split.
Right.
And there was a lot of people uncomfortable about the split, including and probably first and foremost me.
Yeah, it had to be kind of a weird place to be.
It was not comfortable.
Yeah.
And the way that I answer to that discomfort or that really emotional time for me was like, well, the good thing is I got to really be my own songwriter. I got to feel it was with some people that I had just, I had only known for a few months, because Dangerous Toys got hit by our record deal we stepped in the street and got hit by a truck got hit by a bag of money, and not expecting it at all.
Sure. Yeah, what a horrible place to be at that point.
yeah, and then right. Well, on one hand, yeah, but on the other hand, this is a great opportunity, right?
Well, I'm glad it came along because I sure did love hearing that album when it first came out. I was like, oh, this is awesome. So,
well, everything worked out in the end. We just celebrated this September. We did a bunch of Watchtower reunion shows, and there was a remastered version of the first Watchtower album came out on High Roller in Germany, and it's
the one from 85.
Yes. So It was our 40th year anniversary of the debut record of Watchtower. So it ignited all of these. And I've done reunion shows with them. We did one in 2000. We did one in 2004. And we just did it again. So everything really did work out.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, what an interesting career you have had, sir.
Yeah, it's been a trip.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's been a trip. Yeah. I'm very grateful to those who came along and joined me at any point on the ride.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, I'm glad you're still making music, still have your voice, obviously.
Yeah.
Your singing is amazing on this
Thank you.
Night Terror record to go back full circle.
Thanks.
So we probably should wrap things up here because I want to definitely be able to play some music here. So from the Night Terror release, if you don't mind, because I haven't shared this on my weekly music show yet, I'd like to go with my current favorite, Dying Days.
Do it.
And then from Demolition, since I haven't gotten to listen to that record yet or even touch on it yet, I'd like to play something from it. Can you pick a song from Demolition that we can add to the end of this interview?
Yeah, let's go with Rock Shock Cowboy.
And I'm writing that down so I don't forget. And I will
3 words: Rock Shock Cowboy.
And knowing you from your other songs, there's probably a little bit of humor in that one, I'm guessing, just from that title.
A little bit. It's also melancholy. Some of the lyrics that we were writing we were trying to grow up a little bit. From Sporting a Woody to a little bit of a love song. It's like you're not just looking down at the you're taking in the world a little bit more and things you learn. Maybe some heartbreak is in some of those lyrics. Here you go. I mentioned the phrase earlier, the sad cowboy. That's one of the things that I sort of congeal together into this one thing. There's a lot of old 70s sort of pop rock stuff where a lot of singer-songwriter one-hit wonders and AM gold, if you will.
Right.
We're about this kind of thing. Blues, but real
right.
Blues about some heartbreak and learning things about life and whatever. These things started. You can even find them in in Dangerous Toy songs, believe it or not.
I believe you.
It's not just Sport and Woody, you know.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much. It has been an absolute blast talking with you.
My pleasure.
Really enjoyed having you here on Radio Bypass. And guys, make sure you check out Night Terror, the debut, because I'm stick with debut because there's going to be more.
I hope so.
Say the debut record from Night Terror. So make sure you check that out. Return of the Witches. That's out there. It's out now. Get it. And maybe you can buy Jason a copy of the vinyl and send that to him.
Yeah, please.
So we're going to crank that up first, and then we're going to crank up a new old Dangerous Toys track as well. Again, thank you, Jason, and everybody turn this up just a little bit louder now. Here comes Dying Days.